Julie, I think we've got all of the board members here except for Trustee Lopez Jones, and she will be joining us late tonight.
Okay, perfect. So we want to go ahead and get started then. All right. So we are reconvening to open. Okay, let's make sure I'm not muted. Reconvene to open session and calling to order at 6:02 p.m. And there was no action taken in closed session, but we are going to reconvene after the main meeting. And then I just want to remind everybody to be advised that we are making a recording of the board meeting on the direction of the board. So we just want to remind everybody you're being recorded. So on that note, we will do attendance roll call. President Elkishan here. Clerk Lopez Jones is not here yet, but we're hoping she's going to be here very soon. Trustee Maxfield.
Here.
Trustee Gonzalez.
Here.
Great. Trustee Rothberg Allen.
Here.
And Student Representative Rubio. Is she with us today?
Right there.
Yay, there she is. Exciting. Perfect. So I'm going to throw it over to Paula to screen share. And we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. So, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. And that brings us to approving and adopting the agenda. Are there any changes on the agenda, Erin?
No, there are not. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So we're just looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
And looking for a second.
Second.
Thanks, Stephanie. And all in favor, please remember everybody, you got to unmute pretty solidly during that so I can hear everybody say. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect, thank you. And then we go to the district mission statement. We are a collaborative, culturally rich educational community where a rigorous and innovative curriculum prepares our students to be successful contributors to our global society. And then that leads us to 4.1, recognition. So in every board meeting, the Board of Education recognizes a student, employee, or a member of the community who have received recognition for academic or athletic achievement, or who have made significant contributions of any kind to the district. So tonight we are very happily recognizing Charlotte, am I gonna say it right, Hayer?
Almost. Hager.
Hager, okay, that would have been just too easy. Who is our development director, and Alani Flores, who's our tutor volunteer coordinator at the Up Valley Family Centers. And this is for their ongoing organization of the Up Valley Family Center tutoring program, which is amazing, and we are so much more richer for having it. And recruiting volunteers to serve for our elementary school students and anybody who's ever done anything in this district and have to recruit people. It's probably the most challenging thing. So I might just throw it over to Erin so she can say a little something as well.
Well, we're just appreciative. This is a program that the Upper
think
Valley
you're
Family
muted.
Center has been running in the St. Helena Unified School District. So we feel very fortunate that they're expanding the program to serve our students at elementary school. And I don't know if Charlotte or Alani would like to speak for just a second to talk about how many volunteers you've already recruited and how many students that you've started serving.
Yeah, thank you. So we currently have 32 volunteers right now who are, ready to be paired to students. Right now we have 3 active tutoring sessions with 3 different students. I have 7 applications already turned in, so I'm in the middle of processing that. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're up to right now. we're thinking about doing a second wave of volunteer recruitment pretty soon. And there are actually 4 sessions that are going to be happening already this week.
Thank you. So thank you on behalf of the district. We actually have a certificate that I will deliver to your offices sometime soon. And we also appreciate your joining us tonight. So thank you both.
Thank you so much, Erin, and thank you to the board.
Thank you. And obviously you can stay as long as you like on our meeting, but you're not required to. So if you want to drop off, you're perfectly welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so moving on from there, we are in the section for public comments. So this is a time for people to make any kind of comments on non-agendized items. So you have the opportunity to address the board on any item regarding board business that's not on the agenda. So without taking action or entering into a dialogue with the public, board members may briefly respond to statements made or ask clarifying questions about topics posed by the public. Your matter may be referred to administration, and individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes. And at this point, I asked Paula, do we have anybody who submitted to speak? Okay, and just double checking with the audience. Public comments? No. Okay, perfect. So then we'll go ahead and we'll move on to 6.1, board policies and administrative regulations, first reading. So we are going through, and as we go through and fine tune all of our board policies, we do a first reading and then we approve them. So we are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that 4 of them are very standard in terms of just following regulations and state law, but we have one tonight that I'm going to just ask Erin to talk about a little bit, and then we can have a little discussion around it because I think it's an interesting one. So I'll go ahead and toss it to you, Erin.
Thank you, Julie. So the 4 policies that Julie mentioned are currently policies in our district, and so we're bringing those forward just to reflect legal changes and recommendations by CSBA. But board policy 4119.24 on maintaining appropriate adult-student interactions is a new policy to our district. So we have not brought a completely new policy to the district in quite some time, so I thought it might encourage some discussion and amongst yourselves. This again is just a first read, so we'll be bringing it back to the board at our next board meeting for final approval.
So just to remind everybody, CSBA gives us a guideline for a board policy, and generally it will always run concurrent with whatever the legal framework is. But this is sort of a designed one that we have the ability to change it or tweak it because it's not really based on law, it's just based on a guideline or standard that CSBA has put forth for schools to use. So I'm going to open it up to the rest of the board if they, obviously you guys all read it, and if you had any comments or thoughts on it.
Julie,
or if you, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I also had asked Michael to contact legal counsel just because this is a policy new to the board. And so he did that today. So Michael, do you mind sharing your conversation with Dulcinea?
Sure. So, I think what we know about this policy is it gives a lot more specificity than we've ever seen on this topic of adult-student interactions. And that's a good thing to, to lay out the clear expectations. Our legal counsel has seen this policy. They're familiar with it. They support it. I think the caveat to it, or something to keep in mind, is as you read it, the specificity that's there shouldn't be read literally. As you read each of the points, there's the context that goes with this policy, meaning if a concern is raised about an interaction, at that point, looking at the examples in the policy, you might see something that creates a concern or a pattern, but it's not that each of these individual provisions is something we would immediately look at and then look for employee discipline or anything else on one of these aspects, separate from considerable other context that would go along with it.
Does anybody have, well, Go
There's a lot of specific, like Michael said, specific things in this. Can we put this up for maybe to review and discuss at another time before we just batch it in here and agree to it?
Yes, certainly, Jeff, you can bring it, or we can bring it back to you as another read and then approve it, in April, if you'd like to look at it again in March.
Yeah, because I just had some questions about, the difference between a kindergarten teacher relationship, student relation, and a high school math teacher, senior relationship. No offense, Kathy, but I mean, they're two different things, and having a blanket cover for both those different scenarios. But Michael, does that mean this is just the generality? I mean, how does that play into what Dulcinea was saying? I mean,
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we talked about. I think we don't read this entirely literally, and it comes with a whole lot of context. That being said, if we come to the conclusion that we need to add some language to make it more clear that that's what this indeed is, and that this is, a series of examples, we could update this policy, I think, with some very minor changes just to make that more clear that that's what this indeed is.
okay.
Would you be open to, and I don't know if we can do this or not, but rather than us going back and separately doing anything, can we have two board members break out and have a little special session and maybe take the feedback from the other three board members and come up with some verbiage like we've done in the past?
You can't take the feedback unless you're discussing the feedback in open session right now.
Got you.
But you
Okay.
could, assign a committee of two to, maybe work with Michael, or Michael could also talk to Dulcinea and bring back some sample language if you're uncomfortable with the language as it's presented.
So I understand it to be guidelines, but there is some very specific stuff in there, and yeah.
Well, I just had concerns where, if a kindergarten teacher, a kindergarten kid bangs his head, "Oh, sir, I'm sorry, sweetie, you're taking care of a kid hanging onto your knee," versus, a high school teacher calling, somebody sweetie.
Yeah,
different.
I think, Jeff, that is exactly the point. I think that terms of endearment piece is one of those issues. And it's not like if we pass this policy, then we're going to go and direct our elementary staff to stop using terms of endearment, right? That's just kind of part of how we interact as humans.
Okay.
The reason it's there as an example and the context that goes along with it is that if there is a concern raised and upon investigation we find that term in combination with several other examples now starts to feel like something inappropriate is happening, it's at least listed there. But that's kind of what I was getting at with not taking it too literally. We wouldn't then say that every staff member has to delete their social media friendships with students, or that we need to stop using terms of endearment at the elementary.
Okay. All right.
So I guess then I would throw it out to everybody. If Michael and Aaron feel as if it is a relatively succinct blanket and that you're not feeling like we're going to be held to exact stuff, then we can look at just go ahead and okaying it. I just wanted to have a little discussion around it to see how everybody felt about it, because it is, one of the more pointed.
Well, I'm okay with that. I mean, if that's what it ends up happening, yeah. I just didn't want to get pigeonholed into something.
I mean, are you feeling confident, Michael and Aaron, that this is a you don't think it would
bring it, Michael's talked to Dulcinea. We can bring it back with some minor changes, and that might make everybody feel more comfortable with the language.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's bring it back following this discussion. Let's now bring it back next month with some other language that softens it up and makes it more clear what the real intent is.
Okay.
That sounds good. Perfect. All right. But otherwise, there were no other questions on any of the other ones that are just standard changes.
Yeah, those are all changes recommended by CSBA, and for the most part, they're all legal changes that need to happen.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, then we'll just look for that one to come back next time. And then that brings us to reports. So 7.1, we'll start off with Conestoga Elementary. Nicole.
Well, good evening, everyone. For Ilcap goal number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students. This last week, we just finished our winter map administration. And the first administration that we did back in October was considered to be a baseline, kind of the starting point. And the second assessment then compares to the first assessment to show student growth in English language arts and mathematics. And this time around, we have far less students on the makeup list, so that I think shows the efficacy of doing this a second time and kind of knowing the routine. Also, a huge shout out to Chris for having Kyle and Jesus come over and help with staging all the students as they lined up to take the test. And so what we'll be doing with these results, and what's nice about the MAP assessment, is it's really kind of focused on that growth mindset of where are our students growing, and then really concrete suggestions on how to support continued growth. And so this month we are meeting each grade level to look at that data. For our February staff meeting, we reviewed our English language development module as part of our federal program monitoring, which occurred last year. And it served as a reminder of the shifts that come with Common Core standards and the differences between embedded and designated ELD. And again, we are starting our grade level meetings. We are going to be meeting for about 4 hours total over the next month in 2-hour increments. And so that's nice to get back to that practice. It's going back to when we used to do our release days 3 times a year. For Ilcap goal number 2, provide a safe, healthy, and positive school environment. In January, we redesigned our entire back emergency drill areas so that we could account for social distancing. And so teachers went out with their emergency gear plus a PVC pipe that is 6 feet long so that they can line up the students. And again, a huge thanks to Jesus and Kyle for getting that. And it was quite humorous to see everyone out there ready with their PVC pipe to measure everyone out. And then the other thing that we are working on right now is there was an article in the St. Helena paper where students designed Valentines for senior citizens who have been pretty much in the pandemic unable to go out and be social. And so this Wednesday, we are collecting Valentines for Conestoga Elementary, and I'm working with our parent-teacher organization. We are disseminating those out to our local senior communities so that they get a little bit of Valentine's cheer. And so we'll be collecting those on Wednesday. For increasing parent engagement and enhancing communication, I probably have talked about this or referenced it, but I wanted to take a moment to really acknowledge this practice that we've been doing since we started in a virtual platform. And that since the beginning of the year, we have conducted distribution days every other week on Wednesdays. And these days serve as an opportunity not only to give out class supplies, but also give teachers the opportunity to check in with parents. And although there have been challenges in the virtual learning model, the connections to families through these distribution days has really been beneficial. So our next one is coming up on the 10th. So that's our report.
Great. Thank you so much, Nicole. Appreciate it. And then that brings us to junior senior high school principal Raul.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start with Ilcap goal number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all our students. Last Thursday and Friday, we held a drive-through honor roll certificate distribution event where we handed out certificates to students that received above a 3.0 GPA for their first semester grades. We had 208 students that earned this recognition, with 51 students receiving the white honor roll, which is a GPA of 3.0 to 3.45, and 157 students receiving the green honor roll, with this the GPA of 3.5 and above. So over half our students are getting recognized for this honor roll. And then on the other side of the same coin, we do have students that, of course, are not doing well. We had 131 students that received at least one F in the semester report card. We are continuing to closely monitor these students' progress and plan for ways to remedy the deficiencies and learning loss that's happening. One of the things that is happening already this semester is, for instance, the math department is working with the families and they're calling the math validation, where if a student did not do well last semester, they have the opportunity to improve their grade if they do not miss any assignments, if they go to at least one tutoring session a week, and they get a C or better, then the grade will be changed, because math is one of those skills that builds upon each other. They feel that that would validate the first semester. And then also in science, Ms. Warner is trying out a new grading system just to see how that works, and then she'll report back to the staff, where if a student turns in any assignment, even though if it's not too bad of, it's not a great assignment, the lowest grade they could get is a 50% on that assignment. Therefore, a student is never in a hole that's deep enough that they can't get out of. So we're trying a couple of things and see how that works out, and then potentially it could go increase into the rest of the staff. In Ilcap goal number 2, providing a safe, healthy, positive school environment. Reserve circles are having a resurgence with the junior high staff, and that's with the leadership of Jeremy Grove. In the junior high team meetings, they discussed the need for students to have an opportunity to have conversations about various issues outside of class, and they're calling them listening groups. And they had their training recently, and then divided the junior high student population amongst each other. And they held their first listening group last Wednesday. As one of the participating teachers stated, it was so fun just chatting and connecting with kids and not stressing about work. So it sounds like everyone had a positive experience, and they are looking forward to bi-monthly, at least bi-monthly, even some are doing it weekly, listening group meetings to continue. We're also excited to announce that Conestoga High School plans to offer the sports that are allowed here in Napa County in the California Department of Public Health and CIF guidelines during the purple tier. The sports that are allowed right now is beginning with co-ed cross country, tennis, swim, and track and field. Unfortunately, that means that our football, cheer, volleyball, soccer, and basketball will not be offered this year. Those were our fall and winter sports. Junior high sports are also canceled. This information went out to families last week, and we hope that students take the opportunity that we have right now to participate in the sports that we are currently allowed. And then Ilcap goal number 3, increasing parent engagement and enhanced communication. February is really a busy month as we start course selection process and students select their classes for next year. We have Zoom meetings for our Rising 7th grade parent information night on February 18th. And our 8th grade parent information night will be on the 25th, which is also the date of our open house. Traditionally, open house has been an evening where we invite our students, our parents, and our community to see all the wonderful programs that we have to offer. This year, of course, we can't do that. So we're going to be holding a Zoom, just welcoming or Zoom our families that this is their first year, but also just teachers are preparing videos to put into a Padlet where then families can access those videos at any time. So it's not specific to the time where parents sometimes are busy with dinner. They'll be able to access that information at any time. So that's my report for this month.
Thank you, Raul. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Raul, well, we'll be able to have that link so we can get on for the open house.
Yes, absolutely. So the open house, the Zoom meeting will be, well, both of those Zoom meetings for the rising 7th graders and the 8th graders are going into 9th graders will be put on the district website as well.
Perfect.
And then we'll make those available to you if you want to pop in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And I just saw today one of the teachers shared her video that she had made already for the open house, and it's just a great video. And it's a little long, about 10 minutes, but it's a great video. So we're hoping that all our teachers participate in that. Thank you.
Well, that's fun. It is nice that it was always hard to get to in that time slot, that you'll be able to kind of go whenever you want. So that'll be a new fun option. All right, just trying to stay positive, right? Okay, so next is Miss Brianna. You ready?
Yes. So good afternoon, everyone. Tonight I have some news to report on behalf of ASB. Although it is still very uncertain whether or not we can organize any spirit activities, we as a class are trying to come up with events in which everyone can participate in. We have discussed bringing back school spirit by focusing on elements our students would enjoy taking part in the most. For example, we brainstorm ideas such as the homework weeks, homework passes, and raffles. Also, in an effort to try and bring the fun back into school, we have been hard at work contacting other schools in surrounding areas and counties. Each grade has been assigned a town, and they are responsible for contacting them about what ideas their ASB members have come up with. Some schools so far seem to be having similar issues as us. When coming up with ideas, it can be very hard to do many of them through distance learning, and others just do not fit in with our Conestoga student community. On a similar note, our Conestoga students are greatly involved in the community, and thus those involved in the S Club and art have been hard at, have had wonderful opportunities to help our senior community. Recently, they have had the chance to make wonderful Valentine's Day cards to distribute to our elderly Conestogans. And with so many things going on, it is always good to show our appreciation and kindness to those who need it the most. And that's all for tonight.
That was a great report. I look forward to yours the most. It's very hard. It's very, very hard, but you guys are doing a great job. I like reaching out and benchmarking what other people are doing. That's awesome. Okay. All right, then moving on to, and Brianna, thank you for joining us. You know you don't have to stay if you don't want to. Moving on to Director of Educational Services and HR, Michael.
Okay, well, Jill, I think I've got your positivity. I'm going to bring it. I'm really excited about reopening our schools, and I think it's coming, right? At some point, I think we're trending in the right direction. I think Aaron may share some additional thinking, but it's exciting to feel like we're starting to edge towards that, and I think when that happens, it's exciting for kids to be on campus. It's exciting for our teachers to be able to see, and that's why we do this work, right? And so just to feel that there's the potential for that is very exciting. And I think we've done work throughout the district to prepare for this. Maybe we're fortunate compared to some of our neighbors that we've had a little longer to get fully prepared. But I know that every manager, every department has been kind of doing double duty this year, right? Has been taking care of the work in front of us, but also at the same time, taking care of all these things to make sure that we are prepared. Just a few kind of last pieces that I've been working on. We are arranging for 2 substitute teachers to be on site each day during hybrid. So I think that will apply first to CES. I think we would anticipate, given the rules from the state, that the elementary school would open first. But we'll have 2 substitutes there every day. And that'll be important. The rules are still in place around symptom screening, and there's the potential that a teacher who wakes up and doesn't feel well will not only have to be home for the day, but home for multiple days. And then we anticipate issues related to contact tracing and other incidents that could just lead to staff needing to be at home. And while teaching from home and working remotely has been a possibility thus far, it's going to be much harder to do once we transition to hybrid. So it's important that we have those substitutes on site and that we can have a seamless transition to adults being able to step into a classroom and take over versus having those students return home. We're also working on voice amplification systems. You would imagine now that we know teachers are going to be wearing a mask, which is going to make it harder to hear and articulate. And we know that it's going to be important that we continue to keep our 6-foot distancing. And so for certain teachers, you know, they're going to benefit from having some voice amplification or speaker system so that students can hear them. And so we're in the process of building on the systems we have. We have some audio systems in place in our classrooms, in the majority of classrooms. Some do not, but we're going through that process to make sure that every teacher that wants voice amplification has it. And a shout out to Chris Oakes and to Marty. They've been great partners in this work of trying to figure out what systems we have, what needs to be replaced, and then working with third parties to make sure that, that we're up and running. So excited about the potential for that. I can also share an update on state testing. I feel like this is becoming a monthly update, and maybe because I'm stressed about it. You know, state testing is so important. It's important to kids, their families. It's important to us as a school district. And throughout the year, it's like, how are we going to do this, right? How are we going to do high stakes testing when our students are maybe at home, some of them are here. But the reality is it's happening, right? It's going to happen. We are in the process of setting our dates for training our LPAC proctors. We will give the LPAC, which is our English learner test. It will be offered in person as well as remotely. And it'll be good to have this data. It'll be good to have it to know what students are making progress and to lead to reclassification for those students who are ready to exit English learner status. I do have the sense that CASP is going to happen this year. There was some thinking that there may be a reprieve at the federal level, but it's not sounding that way. There are still some questions as to what level of accountability will be attached to that data, but I do think it will go forth. It's not until April that we do the CASP, and so I think there's potential we have more students on campus, but we will certainly have a remote testing option for any family that would prefer to have their students stay home. And then lastly, I can give an update on professional development. We've essentially concluded our PD, structured PD on distance learning and educational technology. We saw very clearly this summer that there was a need for us to get better at distance learning. And you know, we made our best shot at finding a partner in that work, an ed tech team. And I feel like we got lucky in that regard. We found some just great trainers that were engaging and knowledgeable, and they've been really effective. And so we've been doing once a month PD. We do have one session left at the elementary school, which would be on the shift to hybrid. But I feel very good about the learning that happened, and especially, you know, blown away by our teachers and how they have adopted educational technology. You know, I've been a proponent of that for years and years and years. I think there was times where people who were interested in this were saying, how do we get teachers to adopt educational technologies, right? It's so, you know, there's such amazing potential in these tools. I mean, I guess what you need is a pandemic, right? And everyone to be at home, because then it just is function. You need to have these tools. And I think our teachers recognize how important the tools were to them. But what our teachers are doing right now with technology is amazing. And they deserve to be commended. There's one thing to have training, but it's another thing to have teachers who embrace it and who put the energy into learning and implementing. But the changes that have happened, that's one of the benefits. The changes that have happened through educational technology and instruction right now are things that will never leave us. We will carry that regardless of whether in hybrid or in person. We also are engaged in some learning around English learner instruction. You know, all our teachers are credentialed in English learner instruction. And I think with that, maybe there's a tendency to say we know how to do this work, and we do, but it can't be neglected. It continually needs to be prioritized. And so we're right now have just completed our first module, our first set of learning around English learner instruction for the year. And then we'll have 2 additional modules. And it's just good to continue to remind ourselves of good instruction for English learners, and then to bring that to staff meetings and engage in staff conversation. And then lastly, last year I brought to the board some exciting work with our secondary math department in our partnership with West Ed to do a self-study of our program, highlight our strengths, our growth areas, and set a multi-year path forward to improving our math instruction. And then that was really stalled by what happened in the spring. And we've kind of waited a while, knowing that we've got so much other important work to do to figure out how to do math instruction remotely, but it's time. And so we're excited to have WestEd come and join us. I think they'll join us this week and start to reboot that work. And by approximately, I'd say May, we'll have a report from them, which we can share. And that should give us some good guidance as to where we need to go for the next 2 to 3 years to make sure that we're providing exemplary math instruction to all our students. And that is my report for the night.
Great, that was amazing. Anybody have any questions for Michael before we move on? No? Okay, then we will move on to Maureen, Director of Business Services, for her update.
Good evening, everyone. I cannot believe it's already February 8th. Time is flying by. I just want to update the board quickly on our master plan. We are in the final stretch of creating our new master plan. This has been a long road due to unforeseen circumstances such as fires and a pandemic, but we are in our final stages of cost estimates and funding opportunities, and we're working closely with SchoolWorks and IEP Squared to bring the preliminary draft to the board next month in March. We are currently doing a fiber optic install at, well, it's kind of between CES and the junior senior high school. Way back when, I brought a contract to the board from E-Rate for Sonic.net to be the connection between CES and the junior senior high school. Our main connection comes through the elementary school, and then we need something to bridge the gap between the two sites. AT&T is our current carrier, and they did not get the E-Rate bid because Sonic came in with a better price. So currently, our dark fiber is getting installed, and this being able to use dark fiber, it's going to allow us to also increase our speed in the years ahead, and it won't be a monthly cost that increases for us. So that's good news. This project should be completed probably at the end of this week or middle of next week. An E-Rate funding update for 21-22. Comcast is our main contract for our Comcast is our contract for our main connection at the elementary school, and their contract expires June 30th this year. So we've gone out to bid through E-Rate, and AT&T came back and has been awarded the contract because their cost is a decrease as to what we are paying now. So we're going to increase our bandwidth to 2 gigs. We now carry 1 gig. We're going to increase our bandwidth to 2 gigs. We're going to be paying $383 less per month to AT&T, so we'll have about a $4,600 savings per year and doubling our speed. So that's really good news on the technology side of things. And then for a budget update to our board members, as you know, back in December, the federal government passed the second stimulus package. This package is the one that provides the $600 stimulus check to U.S. Citizens. It's also an extension to unemployment benefits and billions of dollars in funding to schools nationwide. The allocation will be coming to the district through ESSER funds, and right now our current estimate for this distribution is about $327,000 for our district. These are one-time funds, and they're meant to be spent on COVID-related expenditures as well as intervention-type services for students to help close the gap. There right now is a third stimulus package at the federal government. The House passed the package today. It's on its way to the Senate, but there is still a lot of argument as to how much to allocate out to school districts because of what school districts have received in the first and second packages. So that is a main argument of the stimulus passing. So we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully in the next week or so, we'll have some definitive answers of what that third package looks like. A couple of weeks ago, all the CBOs in Napa County met with John Tudor, our county assessor, and we met in regards to the property tax income and the effects of both COVID and the glass fire on what property tax income from districts is going to be in the next few years. News was not great in this area. I've been talking to the board a lot about the recommendation coming from Napa County Tax Assessor's Office that we should project 0 increases in property taxes in the next couple of years. That is still the case. One of the new pieces of information that we learned during this meeting was that instead of projecting those zeros out for 2 years, we probably should be looking at projecting those 0 income dollars out for an extra year. So Now we'll have a multi-year projection of 0 increase in property taxes in 23-24, as well as 21-22 and 22-23. More updates on this information will come to the board next month in our second interim reports at the March board meeting. And that's all I have for the board tonight.
Great, thank you, Maureen. Anybody have any questions for Maureen? Okay, then we will go ahead and move on to superintendent's report. Erin.
Thank you, Julie. Under Ilcap goal number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students, Maureen just reported on the status of our district's technology transition, and I want to publicly commend her for the work she's done thus far to create our own technology department. It's a move that's long overdue, and she's dedicated a tremendous amount of time to the task. Her efforts are already helping to increase efficiencies in our district, and under her leadership, I believe the transition is going exceedingly well. So thank you to Maureen. And the biggest question on everyone's mind is when we are going to be able to return to in-person school. So I explained last month during our meeting that for our district to transition to the hybrid model, the county's COVID case rate has to be 25 per 100,000. So the good news is that we have reached that milestone as a county, and Dr. Reluccio shared that the data is continuing to move in the right direction for us. However, we have to remain at that or below that specific case rate for 5 consecutive days for our district to be able to reopen for in-person learning at grades K through 6 only. The metric again for junior, senior high school is 7 per 100,000, and we're still significantly far from that goal. So I put a tentative date on the California Department of Public Health checklist for a transition to our hybrid learning model to be on February 22nd for grades K through 6. Our facilities are ready. They have been for a while. We have all the necessary safety protocols in place, and we've already been successful in bringing back our elementary school students for MAP testing and also one-on-one assistance. So it's important to remember, however, that even though that is our plan as of this moment, our school reopening date is contingent on the county's COVID-19 data. So hopefully it will remain in a declining mode. And the Napa County District Superintendents are meeting again with Dr. Reluccio. We're still holding our bi-weekly meetings with her. So I'll have updated data information, and I'm going to be sending out a communication to families and staff once she's confirmed that. So under Ilcap goal number 2, providing a safe, healthy, and positive school environment, I'm going to be meeting with Zach Guzik, who I see is on our meeting call here, and Rob Weiss next week to discuss the possible expansion of services with Mentis. We currently have students at both the elementary and junior, senior high school who are on the wait list for counseling. And we anticipate that when we return to in-person school, there will be an increased need for mental health services due to the pandemic and the isolation that the kids have felt during the last nearly a year now. So we're considering expanding from our current services, which are 4 days a week at each of the school campuses, to 5 full days per week. When we receive the ESSER funding that Maureen just mentioned, that would be a very appropriate use of those monies. So if in fact we do expand the services, I'll be bringing back a revised MOU to the board. And then good news also, I've signed the final notice of completion on the junior high bathroom project, and the gates for the elementary school were installed last week. The only thing that needs to be done now is the locksmith needs to install the lock sets, and that's anticipated to be done before the end of this week. So thank you to Chris, who's also in this meeting, for overseeing those projects. Then under Ilcap goal number 3, increasing parent engagement, enhancing communication. Last week, I had a very productive conversation with Mildred Gaines. She's the director of the PK program, the Parent Institute for Quality Education. She is very enthusiastic about returning to our district for a second year to conduct the family engagement and the new leadership seminar. So we have those scheduled for our Spanish-speaking families during the months of March and April. Last year, the PK staff took on the monumental effort of calling every single Wildcat family in our district to personally invite them to attend the seminars. This year, they're doing something a little different. They are contacting each of the PK graduates from last year, and there were about 25 of them. And they're going to ask them to serve as the recruiters. So they're going to provide a training for them, and they'll pay them to attend the training. And then they would turn over the recruitment calls to them, and they would be paid for the time to do those calls. So I felt that that was a good use of the people who had shown leadership last year and motivation for parent engagement. And they also have, those people have a lot of connections, obviously, as families in the community. So they think that will be a very successful recruitment. And they are going to cap the program at 45 participants, which last year we had no problem filling the program. And although this year they're going to use the standard curriculum that they use every year in PK, they also are going to be adding a new component, which is going to focus on social emotional learning, again, due to the effect the pandemic has had on children's mental health. That is all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Great. Does anybody have anything for Erin before we move on? All good stuff. All very good stuff. Okay, so now we're moving on to 8.1, the consent agenda. So just to remind everybody, actions proposed for the consent agenda are deemed routine in nature and will be enacted with one motion. There's no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or audience or staff requests specific items to be removed for separate action. So at this point, I am just going to look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Great, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You good, everybody? Okay. All right. And oh, sorry, roll. Okay, thanks, Rudy. Roll call vote, actually. So President Elkishan, aye. Clerk Lopez-Jones is not with us tonight. Trustee Maxfield?
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Aye.
Trustee Rothberg-Allen?
Aye.
And Student Representative Rubio? Did she leave us? She left, huh? Okay, perfect. All right, no problem. Okay, and then that brings us to the fun part, which is action items. And so action item protocol is always including staff presentations, questions from the board, public input, deliberation by the board, and voting by the board. And during public input, there's a 3-minute time limit per person. So we will start off with 9.2, which is the agreement with the Conestoga Police Department. And thank you, Mitch, for being here tonight. That's so fun. And Erin, go ahead and you can give us a little intro to this.
So Julie, we're presenting an agreement with the Conestoga Police Department. I want to thank Mitch, who actually drafted the agreement. We did have North Bay review it as well. And so I invited Mitch to come tonight along with Officer Amanda Green. I had the pleasure of getting to meet her. And we thought you might like to see them as well. So I did not recognize Officer Green, however, when she's not in uniform. So thank you both for being here. Mitch, I don't know if you want to make any comments about the grant or not.
Well, for those of you that know me, know I have a real challenge being brief, but I'm going to do my best here. So I want to thank the board very much for giving us this little bit of time. I'm super excited about this program. If you had a chance to look at it, you know, it's the school resource program that was it was via a grant that we wrote and got through the Department of Justice for alcohol prevention program. So it allowed us to hire or to create a school resource officer position. And it's exciting because, you know, in talking to the parents and a lot of the school staff, this is something for the last couple of years they've been asking for as far as mentoring and to deal with some of the issues that occur in a young person's life, but also to provide some mentoring and address some issues like tobacco. There are 5 goals to the grant. You know, most of them they're all circled regarding student awareness for the harm of tobacco use, providing training and education to the officers and school staff on tobacco-related issues and laws. It's not just focused on the schools, but also on the community. So we'll be working with retailers to hopefully put some things in place to make it more difficult for young people to have access to tobacco products. So that includes education, outreach, and enforcement. And then obviously focusing on school grounds, and then the parents, also outreaching to the parents, because it's really, to address this issue, it takes all of us to kind of keep our students healthy and safe, and at least educate them and keep making them aware of some of the harm that this causes. Now, although the grant is a tobacco grant funding the school resource officer program, we're going to be able to do traditional school resource officer activities, which is to do some fun stuff, such as interact with the kids, participate in outreach in extracurricular activities, be a resource to the school and the students as far as mentoring, guiding, leadership, and those kinds of things. So I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a work in progress. The officer that was selected is Amanda Green, and I'm going to shut up in a minute and let her introduce herself. But I know she's excited about it and has a lot of meetings planned with the principals, and hopefully we're going to meet with DLAC, the advisory group, as well as working with the Elk Valley Family Center and some of the coalitions and committees that they're on that are focused on youth. So if you have any questions, either myself or Amanda can answer them, but I'm going to then turn it over to Amanda and let her say a little bit about herself.
Thanks, Chief. Hi, thank you for having me today. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm really excited about this, as Chief said. I'm going to piggyback on a few things that he said. I'm really interested in getting to know the kids. I know, like he said, this is the tobacco funded. Obviously, that's a huge priority, but my main concern is building a rapport with the kids, being approachable for them, being someone else that they can turn to who's going to be very present. I worked at a school previously before becoming a police officer. I used to be a paraeducator, briefly, but it was wonderful. I learned a lot, and I realized that I do really well at schools. So I worked with Marcella a bit. We have, like Chief said, a ton of meetings planned. I still have a lot to learn for this position, but I'm really looking forward to everything, and I thank you a lot for having me here.
Great. And if anybody has questions, I'm more than happy to answer them, but thank you very much for giving this opportunity to have this partner with us on this program.
Great. Welcome, Amanda. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming to the meeting. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to the collaboration. I think it's going to be great. Okay, so at this point, I am looking for the motion to approve the agreement with the Conestoga Police Department as presented.
Julie, I think Zach might have had a question or something.
Oh, sorry, Zach. Sorry, Zach, go ahead. I can't hear you. Are you muted there?
Is that better? Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. Just to piggyback on what Chief was saying, at the Family Center, we actually we sent a letter of approval or in sponsorship of this grant when Chief applied for it alongside our Community Schools Initiative. So all of our partners within that collaborative were also behind this work. I can say from our experience in St. Helena, it's been a really positive experience with both families and students having an SRO in the school district. We just did a parent presentation actually about a week ago where we talked about marijuana use, vaping, tobacco education. It's been very well received by the parents, and the students have a very strong relationship with the SRO on campus, and we're seeing a lot of real positive interactions between law enforcement and students as a result of this too. So we're really excited. We partner with the police already with our diversion program, but we also work with them on a lot of prevention work as well. And we're just very excited to see this happen.
Great, thanks, Zach. Sorry, I didn't see the little hand. That's clever. And I appreciate your input and sharing what's going on at St. Helena. So sorry, we're just so excited about it. I just sort of move forward with the action item. So anybody else before I roll forward? Okay. Perfect. So then I'm just looking for a motion to approve the agreement with Conestoga PD. All right, you guys, come on.
Second.
Perfect. So moved by Stephanie, seconded by Jeff. Wonderful. Okay. And obviously, Mitch and Amanda, you're welcome to stay on for the rest of the meeting, but we will not be offended if you want to go and have dinner and be with your family.
Julie, you got to call for the vote. Don't forget.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's not on my sheet. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Sorry, guys. I got so excited. Okay. Moving forward to 9.3, the consulting agreement with Pamela Plasick-Blatt, and that is Michael who's going to present that for us.
We have a consulting agreement here for some support for our special education department. We've identified a need for support around curriculum and instruction, as well as IEP compliance, and in particular with a focus on our SDC classroom, but it'll be a need district-wide, I think, as we, especially as we transition into, at some point into hybrid learning, I think that the needs will increase. This is with Pamela Blatt, who is an expert in our field who I think we've worked with before, and I'm confident in her ability to support us.
Okay, anybody amongst us have any questions for Michael on that? No? Okay, great. So then I am looking for a motion to approve the consulting agreement with Pamela Plasick-Blatt.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. And second?
Second.
Great, thanks, Stephanie. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Perfect. Okay, and then that brings us to our next consolidated application, CONAP, and this is 9.4, and I'll let Maureen talk to us a little bit about it.
This is one of 2 reporting periods for the consolidated application. This is the state's way of having school districts report on their federal funds, and so that the school district complies with the regulations associated with receiving those federal funds. We currently receive $166,818 from Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV, and would appreciate an approval of the CONAP from the board so we can continue to receive these funds.
So just so I understand, and for the new board members, why is it that we as a board approve the application?
Part of the process that says you're aware of the funding and how much we get, and that we are complying with the fact that we're applying for these funds through CDE, California Department of Ed.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay, so I'm just looking for a motion to go ahead and approve the CONAP.
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to take Rudy on that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Great. Thank you. Okay, and then that moves us down to 9.5, Resolution 2021-07, Public Agency Retirement Services, PARS, Supplementary Retirement Plan. And that goes again to you, Maureen.
So after hearing my budget update regarding the 0% increases in property taxes in the next few years, it's imperative that the district look at ways of saving money, not only in one-time expenses, but also in ongoing expenses as well. This is where PARS comes in. PARS is the agency with whom we invest our OPEB liability dollars right now, and so we do have a long-standing relationship with them. In addition to the service of OPEB investment, PARS offers other services and retiree benefits, such as a supplementary retirement plan, and that is the resolution before the board tonight. This plan sets parameters for employees to be eligible to retire or resign from the district with an offer of 85% of their yearly salary in an annuity plan through Pacific Life Insurance Company. The eligible employee gets to choose among many options as to how they would like their payment to be distributed to them. They can choose a lifetime benefit amount, they can choose a 10-year benefit amount, or they can receive payments for a shorter period of time if they might be looking to make it to Medicare age of 65 in relation to health insurance. So there's a lot of different options available to them. The parameters we've set in working with PARS is that an employee that is at least 59 years old by June 30th, 2021, and has had 10 years of service with the district as a full-time employee for certificated or more than half-time employee for classified is eligible to receive this benefit. PARS meets with each employee and explains the annuity payment options. Employees will then have until March 25th to let PARS know if they accept the offer. This gives the employee time to meet with PERS or STIRS and talk to family members and ultimately decide if this is the right decision for them or not. It's about a 45-day window period. Once the individuals have accepted, PARS runs the analysis for the district as to whether or not the district can save money with the accepted offers of the employees. All parameters are taken into consideration in regards to the money savings for the district. They look at salary cost of the employee that accepted the offer. They look at the estimated cost of the replacement of that employee. They look at the cost to the district to pay PARS for the offer. And this offer doesn't go all the way through unless it is a savings to the district in the end. Of course, we've run preliminary numbers and we feel confident that we will receive a savings if employees do agree to the offer. If employees are interested and the district can save money, there is a 5-year repayment plan to PARS from the district to implement. This 5-year cost is also dependent on the final cost of the individual employees that choose to receive the benefit. This is something the district has not offered in the past. It will not be offered again anytime in the near future because we will have a 5-year repayment plan established with PARS. So it's kind of a great opportunity right now looking at the next 3 or 4 years of trying to capture some savings for the district. And then of course we're going to have a payment that we're going to need to pay back. So we're going to make sure that all in all we have savings over the next few years. The resolution before you tonight does not commit the district to anything other than going through the process with PARS and our employees so we can get the cost savings amount for the district and employees can see what offers are before them. If in the end we decide this doesn't work for the district, we will be liable for a $3,500 administration fee to PARS. But I'm confident with what we are offering as a district and the fact that we will have money savings in the end, this will be a successful program that we can implement for some of our employees. Does the board have any questions for me?
So there doesn't seem to be any downside to it, right?
There's not a downside other than we'll lose, we might lose great employees that have been with the district for a very long time. But as far as from the fiscal side of things, there's not a downside because it's a savings to the district. And that's the reason you do it, really.
Right, okay.
Okay, so no more questions on that? You guys all kind of get what that's about? All right, so then we are just looking for a motion to go ahead and approve Resolution 2021-07 and let Maureen get started on looking at that analysis.
So moved.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Second.
Okay, I'm taking Rudy on the second, and all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, Maureen, go to it. All right, moving on to 9.6, looking at a memorandum of understanding with the Brannon Center. So maybe Erin wants to talk a little bit about that fun
Thank you, Julie. This is just a very straightforward agreement that allows for the mutual use of our parking lot and the Brannon Center parking lot. So during non-school hours, the Brannon Center, whenever they have any kind of a function, they would be able to have their patrons use our elementary parking lot. And then during or before school or during school, if there's nothing occurring at the Brannon Center, we would be able to use their parking lot. So that's been a practice that's been informal as far as us using the Green Church parking lot for many years. But given the fact that they're going to be retrofitting the building and it's now a completely different organization that's going to be operating out of that building, it's my recommendation that you approve the agreement between Brannon Center and the district.
Great. Questions from anybody? No? Awesome. Then just looking for a motion to go ahead and approve the MOU with the Brannon Center.
Motion to approve.
Great, Rudy.
Second.
I'm going to take Stephanie on the second, and
No
all in
problem.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's either I can't get people to motion in second or I get too many people to motion in second. All right. So moving on to 9.7 is a memorandum of understanding with St. Helena Preschool for all. So we're going to have Erin tell us a little bit about that.
I'm very excited about this opportunity. As you know, supporting early childhood education is essential for preparing students for a successful kindergarten experience and future experience in their school years. So we're really fortunate that the St. Helena Preschool for All program offered to expand their program to all of the LA districts. The program would benefit families that currently do not qualify for state preschool, yet the families cannot afford to enroll their child in a private preschool. So it kind of bridges that gap. We are recommending that we use monies that we had donated from the Johnston estate. So if you remember back when we first had that donated to the district, there were 3 pots of money that came in from that estate. One was designated just for the elementary school. The second was designated specifically for scholarships at the junior senior high school. And then the third was designated for the district to use however we chose to use it. So each of those entities received $45,000, and I'm recommending that we utilize that $45,000 in totality over a 4-year period. So each year we would contribute $15,000 to the Preschool for All program. They match that, and that would allow for 4 students per year for 4 years to receive scholarships. Any questions about it?
Okay, no, that's great. That's exciting stuff. So I'm looking for a motion to go ahead and approve the MOU with St. Helena Preschool for All.
I so move.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay. So moving on now, boy, we have so much going on. 9.8, agreement with Mid-Valley IT, and Maureen will give us a little bit about that.
So Conestoga School District has terminated our contract with Napa Valley Networks. They are the company that has provided our network management for the last few years. This agreement that's before the board tonight is with Mid-Valley IT. Mid-Valley IT will be providing a full-time employee hired by Mid-Valley IT to be on-site 40 hours per week as a mid-level engineer network analyst. This agreement will serve as a stopgap for our district while we take the time to create a job description and a salary placement of our own for our own position. And I've been talking with Mid-Valley for a while now. We've been in the planning phases and we've been doing cost estimating, and they've really shown that they're a very professional company. They truly care about the district's success in this transition, and they really want to provide top-notch service to us. Just as a side note to this agreement, Mid-Valley is coming in and upgrading our firewalls for us this weekend at no cost to us as a district. And in comparison of that, when Napa Valley Networks quoted us, they wanted a cost of $14,000 to install the firewalls. So right off the bat, Mid-Valley's kind of giving us that, hey, we're going to be here for you, and by you know, the district allowing us to come in and do this for free, we'd like to have your services for this full-time employee. So I think it's a win-win for us as a district. The cost of having a full-time employee, in addition to all the network support that Mid-Valley will provide to us, is going to be $15,500 per month. This amount could change depending on the salary of the employee they hire, but they will provide a cost savings to the district if that salary is lower. They will not go above because they are quoting us at $15,500 and will not increase anything if an employee costs more than they've quoted us. We're currently paying NVN around $14,500 a month to $15,700 a month for all of the same services. And right now they are currently only sending us an employee for 8 hours a week. So again, this is a big win for our district. It's a stopgap that will allow us to regroup and come up with a job description for our own position that will come before the board for a decision to hire our own network analyst in a few months. but Mid-Valley IT in the meantime will provide all of our technology support and a full-time employee.
Great. Does anybody have any questions on that? So you're looking at thinking it's just going to be about 2 months before we can get everything circled around hiring our own staff.
Yeah, it depends on the process. We have to, again, we want to write the job description, but I want Mid-Valley's input as far as the scope of that job, because I really didn't have that with Napa Valley Networks. So I want them to kind of get in there and allow us to know what that scope of what that network analyst is going to have to do. So that might take a month or two. And then we have to write the job description, bring it to the board for approval. If it gets approved, then, you know, we got to post the job, go through interviews. I'm thinking maybe it's going to probably be July. We're actually, yeah, I'm thinking July is before we have our own employee in that position.
Okay, anybody else? Great, well, it's good. Thank you for all that hard work on that. So I am looking for a motion. Sorry. I'm looking for a motion to go ahead and approve, I'm sorry, I flipped the page already, the agreement with Mid-Valley IT.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. Great. Okay. And then now we are moving on to 9.9, and that is the 2021 CSBA Delegate Assembly candidate nomination for our region, which is 3B. I was hoping that Indira, who has served in this position for as long as I can remember, would be here to talk a little bit about the position and what it means. But I'm going to go ahead and just read. Is that okay, Erin, if I just go ahead and read?
Yeah,
what
read the
we,
description.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
So CSBA's Delegate Assembly is a vital link in the association's governance structure. Working with local districts, county offices, and board of directors and executive committee, delegates ensure that the association reflects the interests of school districts and county offices of education throughout the state. It sets CSBA's general policy direction and fulfills a critical governance role within the association. The Delegate Assembly is comprised of delegates who are elected by local school board members in 21 geographic regions throughout the state of California. So on top of that, it's a huge commitment. It's a huge time commitment. And I just want to give a little shout out to Indira, who has faithfully served in this position for quite a while and finally represented our region 3B. So I want to thank, he made it almost the whole, oh, there he is, David. I was looking for the logo. Thank you for staying through our whole meeting. That was probably very fun for you. But we have two candidates who are under consideration. David Gracia, who is with Napa Valley Unified School District, who's on with us today, and Jeannie Kerr, who's not with us right now, and she serves on St. Helena Unified School District's board. And these two people are up for our nomination. So what I am looking for is somebody to come forward with a request to nominate and approve an assembly candidate as presented. And we did have background on both candidates that we reviewed. And so I'm looking for nominations.
Well, I'd like to nominate Jeannie Kerr. No offense, David, but we've known Jeannie for as long as I've been on the board, which is 10, 11 years, going on 11 years now, from St. Helena. Know her through CSBA when we used to be able to meet. So I'm going to put forth my nomination for Jeannie.
I'm not totally sure if I can second.
Sure, you can second.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and second that. And I guess at that point, I just need all in favor.
there any other discussion, Julie, or no?
No. Anybody else discussion on David? Did we want to give David a second to speak?
Sure, you can do that.
David, it's up to you. You hung in here so long, and it's really nice to meet you. So it'd be nice for you to be able to say something.
Sure, I'll talk for just a brief moment. Just wanted to say thanks for the opportunity to come to your meeting. You're right, it has been a long one, but you know, it's okay. We have some long ones down in Napa, the city as well. So, you know, I'm not unused to long meetings, but I was just hoping to get your vote tonight and happy to represent the county if I were so chosen. It sounds like my chances aren't real good right this moment, but that's okay. There's always a couple years from now, but it's nice to be here and get a feel for how you guys operate. So it's been kind of fun.
Okay, thank you, David, so much. It was great to have you here, and maybe we'll have to go sit in on a Napa Valley Unified School District School Board meeting sometime. It gives you good perspective to see how everybody does it differently. So thank you for your tenacity and hanging in there with us today. But I'm going to go ahead and take Jeff's motion to nominate Jeannie Kerr, and I second, and throw it out to all in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, and no opposed. All right, so we are going to go ahead and put forth Jeannie Kerr. But David, thank you so much, and it's very nice to meet you. Okay, and moving forward then, we are going to 9.10. We're going to go through and just look for an action item on approving the board policies that we reviewed last time. So you remember we went through and did the first reading of these 6 policies, and so I am just looking for a motion to go ahead and approve those.
So moved.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. All right, and then 10 closing items. 10.1 board meeting calendar, just to remind everybody to put them in your calendar and let us know if there's any conflict. Monday, March 8th, Monday, April 12th, and Monday, May 10th. And if you do have any conflicts, just let us know as soon as possible so we can just make sure we have a quorum. And then 10.2 tentative future agenda items. We're going to be looking at the fund's second interim financial report and all staff appreciation week resolution. And then 10.3, we are going to reconvene to closed session, and I sent everybody the Zoom link to go ahead and jump on. So do we reconvene to closed session first, Erin?
Reconvene and then close the meeting at the end of closed.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't come back on public to close the meeting?
You know, you could just stay in this meeting and have everybody.
Have everybody check off? Okay. All right. Okay, then why don't we do that? That's probably going to be easier, right?
Yeah.
And Paula can make me the co-host, and yeah. And then we'll adjourn after we have our quick meeting.
All right. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, everybody. So fun to have an audience, and have a great day. Back into open session, and I am here to report that absolutely no action was taken in closed session. And then that brings me to the point of looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I'll take Rudy on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Good
Okay,
night,
thanks everybody. Thank you
Okay.
so
Thank
much.
you all.